Schule type shit. No. No, actually, I want to start with the explanation. What's about to happen? It's working. Hallelujah. Good job. So, if you can hear me now, welcome to the live stream. With it.
Yes.
Yeah, man, we're live, we're working. So, welcome to the live stream. Sorry for the small problems. Perfect. All right. So, any more problems that need to be fixed before I start? All right, finally, we made it. Welcome to the live stream, guys. Today, first time on YouTube. What we're doing here, we've been doing it on Discord with our community. Hopefully now with you. And I think, Louis, it's your time to explain.
Oh, well, thank you. So, Monday morning, good week. We had a great week. And every Monday we get together. So far we did on Discord, actually for an internal meeting, which we call Startup University, where we want to talk about the fundamental lessons and ideas and approaches on how you build a startup. Because we want everyone in the team, of course, to be an expert in understanding how it works, all these little insights, what matters. Last few weeks we talked a lot about, starting a startups, the most important 8 steps or so forth. We talked about user feedback and so forth. And today I want to talk with you guys about a topic which I think fits perfectly into what we're doing right now, which is technology and product and how this connects to one another. So I prepared a little quote I want to read to you, explain a bit the lesson from my experience, and then after we just discuss it as every time and kind of ask the question, hey, how do I apply it to my life? How do we spot these patterns in our life, right? So I would say with this, let me get started. And again, for the ones who are listening, this is primarily like an internal thing we do, but we thought it's interesting maybe for other people as well. This is why we're live streaming it. We did it so far always on Discord, now for the first time on YouTube. So maybe this is useful to you. If it is, let us know in the comments on the video or in chat what you think of this. And yeah, are we feeling ready? Yeah. By the way, we still need to figure out how we can make the second mic work without the hissing sound, so it's not like this all the time. That's all right. Okay, cool. I'm going to read a quote to you. And it's from Steve Jobs. Oh, cringe. No, it's really good. Okay, are you ready? You've got to start with the customer experience and work backwards to the technology. You can start with the technology and try to figure out where you're going to try to sell it. I've probably made this mistake more than anybody, and I've got the scar tissue to prove it. As we have tried to come up with a strategy and vision for Apple, it started with what incredible benefits can we give to customers? Where can we take the customer? Not starting with, let's sit down with the engineers and figure out what awesome technology we have and then how we are going to market that. Okay, let that sink in for a moment. I want to make it actually more concrete with an example of Jamie. As you know, this was the last startup I was building. Jamie is an AI note taker that allows you to get great meeting notes from the meetings you do. And we started probably 3 or 4 years ago in the market, and there were already a few existing solutions, so some competitors. And the way the competitors approached building this product was by first saying, hey, we have, this LLM thing, the technology, and we have bots that can join a call. Let's connect that. And then they combined these two things, basically, and then went to the market and sell it. And it worked, actually. It was a useful use case. However, what we did when we started Jamie was a bit differently. We were basically talking to customers and really tried to understand what their need looks like. And one thing, for example, that came up, hey, we don't want a bot to join your meetings. It feels weird to have a bot there. It doesn't feel natural, right? Even though we have the technology to kind of have a bot join, there's not a real benefit to the real user experience. So from the very start, we were betting on figuring out how we can use technology to make this use case work without the bot, which was a much harder engineering problem, but at the same time, something that was really valuable. And today, a few years later, there's so many customers of Jamie who actually appreciate our software for exactly that. If they compare right now, just from what product they like more, people really stick with Jamie, at least the ones we talk to, because there's no bot in this meeting. So this to me is, not the perfect example, but one example of how we actually start with the user experience, where we said, hey, it needs to not have a bot, it needs to be super fast, it needs to be super high in quality for the notes. And then we figured out what technologies we need to use, how we can engineer the solution around it, and so forth. And I think this, in the end, led to a superior product. And the same now is true with a lot of startups that we see in the ecosystem at the moment. Large language models obviously are one of the most exciting technologies because all of a sudden you have a sort of intelligence you can build products with. And we see so many companies rushing out, building things on top of that because now you can, right? And all of these people really start with the technology first. And what you see in a lot of examples, especially the startups that struggle, is that this is not the winning approach. You know, this is why we now have, let's say, I just read a LinkedIn post the other day. Actually, let me take a different example. Back when Web3 was a big thing 4 or 5 years ago, there were probably 8, 9, or 10 startups coming up with the authentication layer for Web3. You know, pitches, they raised money, they were building a project. But then if you looked at the market, there was not really a use for it. There was maybe one company that actually benefited from this sort of layer that you could build with the auth stuff. And very quickly, if we look at the ecosystem, the moment a new technology drops, a lot of these engineer builder people get into, oh, these are all the cool things we can build. Then they build a solution, but then they have the problem that they're building a solution in search of a problem, which makes it really hard to, you know, get people to pay for your thing or use your thing. Because me as a customer, I only use a product if it solves a problem for me. I'm very selfish. It's just about me and my life. I don't care if this is an interesting, cool algorithm you build or what the underlying stack is or whether you've written your app in PHP or Rust or something else. I don't care. What I care is the outcome that you deliver to me as a normal consumer, normal customer. So a big risk also to startups is always that you are building a solution in search of a problem and this doesn't work, you know, if you build this first. So I think the takeaway for us in the products we do, it's really hard because we are all people who understand technology very deeply. So our minds always jump to, oh, this is the thing we can do, this is the thing we can do. This is why it's so important that we talk to customers, also on the product side, like Edi, for example. You talk a lot to customers. You actually try to ask the stupid, obvious questions. So what you struggle with in life, right? And they won't say, well, I need a better large language model because ChatGPT doesn't solve my problem. But what they say is, hey, I struggle to work through my life's problems. I struggle to reach my goals. And now we apply the technology to solve the problem, right? So this is, I think, a really, really important step. Start with the customer experience, with the actual problem people have, and then figure out what technology you need to use to work your way backwards to the customer. So just a rough insight. Resonated a lot. It's really easy to say, much harder to actually do, especially for those engineering people. Like for you and for the other engineers, it's always a bit harder, also for me myself, to be honest. But yeah, I would just say now let's pass it around and just kind of hear how this resonates with you, maybe questions you have on that, or how this applies to your work. You'll get it in a second. But yeah, let's take it from here.
All right, perfect. You said it resonates with the technical people, but I think the one that are battling this battle every day are the content people, because you have your technical skill set, you have the possibilities to do anything, and sometimes you slip into this, okay, I could do this, there are the technical abilities, let's do this crazy stuff. And you push it out because you have the technical abilities, but actually the video you do serve no one. Spider-Man reel. Banana reel. We did some crucial reels in the past where we just put all our technical knowledge into it, created something really beautiful, but there was no market for it. No one liked it. What is a founder? that actually worked. Yeah, but the moment you start shifting to, okay, what do the people want? What could we do that serve them? Or what problems are there? For example, right now we get more and more messages of like, okay, what you're actually doing. So now we know, okay, there's a need. Now we give something to the customers and then find a way to use our technical abilities to create that piece. So it's not only on the technical engineering side. I think it's more things. Technical problems again. Yeah, well, that's my take on that.
No, it's good. I think it's more universally just the way you approach creating things that are useful to someone, right? You don't just create for, because I am excited by that. Art is maybe different, right? Like art I would do like in a different bucket. But if you're in the space of building a company providing value to people, start with the people. It sounds so obvious, but so hard to do. We're quickly checking whether we started the event properly on Discord. Just so we have the people joining live as well. Did you also go through there? That's the thing we need to do. All right, we're going to continue in just a moment after we figured that out on Ackshot. Then you're next. That's not problems. It's just things we need to learn in the process. Right? Right? Did you update the link? No. Cool. Once we have figured this out, we're going to continue. Yeah? Sure.
Yeah, so I have 2 questions in mind. Like, what about the businesses when you are not consumer facing? And there are a lot of companies which are providing like auth layer and stuff like this to developers who are solving like building a real product. That also comes. And how do you manage innovation with that? Because like, let's say Henry Ford, for example, if he went to people, he asked, what is your problem with the horse? People would tell him, maybe I need a better saddle. I need something for my horse, but he wanted to build a car, which is like fundamentally different. So they didn't even know what the product will feel like. So, how do you balance innovation with that? And what if it's not easy to find customers, or, it's not a consumer facing business?
Both really, really good questions. I'll start with the first one. I try to make a concrete example. Let's use the example of authentication providers like Clerk. So Clerk is a software you can use that makes it very easy for a developer to integrate Google sign-in, for example, or email sign-in. Like, it's a basic authentication layer you need if you build a system where you need to sign in, right? This company, even though the customer is another business, still started with the problem of the end user, right? The end customer. The end customer are other engineers, but they didn't start off saying like, oh, we have this cool authentication protocol, and now we're gonna figure out what cool thing we can do with the encryption algorithm. No, they started with, hey, what is difficult for you in your life? Developer said, hey, managing JSON Web Tokens is a pain in the ass. I don't want to deal with any salt in the database to encrypt the things and so forth. This takes a lot of time for me every time, and I hate dealing with it. And they were like, this could be done simpler. Let us build a product around that. So even though you might have a startup that faces another business, or even engineers, they still start with the end user, which in this case is an engineer, understanding what is the problem, and then this inspires the solution they build. Another example we could do is the observability tools for large language models. There's like the Langfuses of the world, where you can see how fast the inference speeds are. You can observe what the LLM is putting out and so forth. They didn't start because they're like, oh yeah, now this LLM technology sounds interesting. Let's figure out something for developers that we are excited by. They started with a concrete problem, which was, hey, if you're running an LLM application, you have no idea what is really going on under the hood. So this is why we're building the observability layer. So I think across ideas, even if you're selling to other businesses or engineers, it's still true that you should start with the end experience. And this is not a consumer, but it's still a person, right? You try to understand. So I think this is still compatible with it from my perspective. You want to add something on that, or no? Good. Yeah. Can I answer the second question, or is it on that point? Okay. Cool. Easy. No, then let's stick with that. So the Edison example. Okay. So yeah, the second question was, how is this thinking compatible with bigger technological breakthroughs? Like, if we were following this, we would never move from the horse to the car, or would we have? This was sort of the theme of the question. How do you balance innovation in that? Exactly. The way I think about that is, let me answer that in two parts. The first one, Henry Ford actually. Henry Ford talked to people, and like in a theoretical example, the user interview would be like, hey, so what do you struggle with? Some people might say, well, I would wish I had a better saddle, or my horse was faster. But if he asked, okay, why do you want that? Oh, because I actually want to get to my destination fast. This is when you ask why, you get to the core problem. And then this is the inspiration and source for, oh, there's a different way I can solve it. But you still start with a problem. I would say the invention of a car was still rooted in the problem of transportation, getting from A to point B. So it's still, again, coming back to the problem was the problem, and then you find a novel way to solve it. And a new solution can solve an existing problem in a much better way. This is how innovation works, what happens all the time. But I would always argue the car also didn't happen just because he thought it was interesting to think how the engine might work and that there's wheels. It wasn't just, an exploration, but very likely you still start with the core problem, asking why a few times until you get to the actual problem. So you don't build a faster horse, but you actually have understood the problem is transportation and speed and convenience. And then you can find new solution ways to that. That's the one thought. The other thing, what is true also, if we look at science and research, right? Those things don't really serve like, oh, it needs to go to market, but rather these are just scientific interests and questions we have in society that researchers are going after. And these scientific insights then generate the next generation of technology, which then provides new things. You look at machine learning, it's been a field for, 40, 50 years, even more maybe perhaps, but for a very long time. And there were so many scientific explanations that researchers found in papers they published, which eventually allowed us to invent the transformer, which was also invented by researchers at Google. Yes, they were funded maybe by Google, but still they were researchers in nature. And this then created for humanity as a whole a new explanation on how the world works or how we can build something, which now has led to large language models. The interesting thing on that, so this is where I would say innovation, these deep technical innovations, rarely come from a private company that is just building something, but typically they really come from the research field. And probably there's also new answers we could find there, but overall this is what I see with the big technological breakthroughs. Sorry, go ahead.
Resonates with me because like technology is generally implementation of the scientific research we already found, right? So yeah, makes sense. When you're doing science, you cannot think of consumer because universe don't care. Like the laws are not made for humans, so of course they cannot think of that. Yeah, and like the second question, the way I thought or the answer I got was, you need to ask the right questions while doing the user interviews. So yeah, so in user interviews, you could be thinking about the problem or something wrong. So you need to question again the user again and again until you find out, okay, the transportation is the problem, horse is not the problem. Okay, I got it.
It's pretty much to me, it almost seems like a form of intelligence or something, or like consciousness, which is like very hard to listen to. Kind of like listening to your body. Your customers know the problem. It's just that you gotta dig deep enough to get to the root cause. And similar like with your body, right? It's like a form of knowledge, intelligence, which is kind of hidden. I think that's really the key.
And just confirms, I think, with everything, talking to your users is the most important thing. These answers you don't only find by looking at product analytics of how horses were used or by sending a customer survey to someone. We actually need to ask the right questions in the moment and dig deep. Joe, you had a question, impulse, idea, thing. Whatever.
Basically, that was the same question. I just didn't hear it prior. But hey, stream, by the way, I'm Joe. No, I was just thinking it's a bit conflicting, but not directly with the same statement also from Steve Jobs, who said the people don't know what the fuck they want. I'm telling them what they want, and I'm building this. And he also said that in another interview. But you explained it already that both works, because in the world innovation needs to happen, and if we only would listen to what they want, then it wouldn't move as fast. So it needs a bit of both, and I think finding the balance in between, like, okay, showing people something they might like and really like trying to put innovation out there, yet listening to whatever it is and leaving flexibility to move within that wave, because otherwise I think you can get into the next problem, which would be timing, because sometimes the world is just not ready for a product. You have the innovation, but then you didn't listen to what the people might need at the moment, and then it just doesn't go through. For example, the touchscreen is a way older innovation. It just failed 1 or 2 or 3 times, I don't know how many times, just because the innovation was there, but the people were not ready. So I think finding the balance is really the way to go. But yeah, you know more about this, I think.
No, it's... we need to improve the setup with the audio next time. From my understanding of Steve Jobs and the Apple moment, which we talk about a lot, I think a lot of people have this image that really was this visionary thinker who was out of nowhere hit with the imagination of the iPhone, and it happened, and didn't talk to users, told them what they... This is not how it went. This is the story we kind of see in the movies and in the books. But if you just take if we turn back time, the personal computer was already there, right? The basic technologies were also already there. What he did is, hey, there is a need for people who are using the internet. He was betting on the thing that the internet is becoming bigger and so forth, and we want communication, and we want to call their cell phones existed, right? But he remixed basically everything that was already there into a much, much, much better experience. He obviously pushed the benchmark of what was possible by a large degree, but it was not an unverified or unvalidated customer need or anything of that. This use case already existed in many forms, but then he made it significantly better, 10 times better, even if not even more, right? This is how it then found mainstream adoption. So I don't think this picture of this genius sitting in the room coming up with this moment and now this was created is really truthful how markets work, because in the end, also Apple fundamentally just served the market need. Just, found a better way to solve it. But the problem was already clear. It's just the context I would add on that. Cool.
I think I have to speak to all the young people out there, because I know we have some young people in our demographics. And since I'm the youngest, I know very well when I started, I saw all these cool opportunities online. And I think what people don't realize when they start something, if it's business or engineering or whatever you do, is you try to come from a spot where you think you know what works or what could work. But I think no one the first step is never going out there and asking questions when you first start. And I think if you're at this point where you're trying to want to make something work, this could be a very good step, because it would have helped me when I started, especially when I was young, because I was just trying to think by myself what could work, never asked anyone what they wanted. Back to you, Lewis.
Actually, I think for this time also the main lesson inside is quite clear. Still things you're curious about, questions you have, or
Since it's very hard to ask our now over 10k followers on Instagram, if you have any feedback on content and want to share to us what you want to see, our DMs are always open. 24/7.
cool. Anything else from anyone else? Perfect, good. But I think important insight. So again, who dares to summarize the key learning from today in a few sentences? Well, Jamie, indeed. No. Yeah, let's go.
Yeah, so we need to think first in the terms of customer feedback and what do customer actually want, because they don't care about the app, they care about the business case we solve using the app. So technology should be used based on what customer wants, not the other way around. It should not be like I have technology and now I need to force it on somebody. You need to find out where the gap is. Maybe the technology is good and even someday everybody will use it, but that will not get us in. To get in, we need to look at the problem which is immediate and which users are more facing, and then we need to apply it to get our footing in. Later maybe we can force it or push it something. Yeah.
Very good. By the way, I just had a funny example. Okay, YouTube launched a feature, I think just in the US, I don't know if it's everywhere, where they have an AI that writes YouTube title ideas for you, like video ideas. And it's so shit. I saw it on a video from someone. And that's the example of where there's technology and now YouTube, yeah, we need to do something with it, right? You slap it on, you don't really understand what the core problem is. It generates shitty thumbnails. This is like the perfect example of what not to do, I think, in this example. But rather understand your creators first. Okay, sorry, YouTube, but it's honest feedback. I mean, if you want to improve that feature, give us a DM, give us a call. It's actually everywhere. Nice.
Title and everything. Yeah, we got that feature as well. But actually, for the title works perfectly. Yeah, it's just with the thumbnails and the scripts. But for titles, it's great. But the titles are great.
Oh, okay. Well, anyways, thank you guys for watching. I hope this was useful. We're back next week, Monday, at 12 p.m. CET.